Content warning. This podcast subject contains adult content that is not suitable for children. We just wanted to warn you ahead of time before listening. The subject matter is heavy.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Grace Speaks, a Grace Church podcast. I am one of your hosts, Alexis Stark, and I'm going to toss it over to our other host.
I'm Katya Gonzalez.
And I'm Chris Carpio.
Woo. And today we have a really cool guest, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. So,
I'm Marisol McShane.
Yay!
Yay,
I almost clapped, but
Marisol.
that probably wouldn't be good for the podcast. You just hear like my booming clapping. No. Yay, so we have Marisol here, and she has a nonprofit organization called LoveLinks. Mm-hmm. And I guess before I really talk about it, because I think it would be better from her mouth. Mm-hmm. So let's actually just dive in and start with, why don't you introduce yourself, and then you could talk a little bit, like a brief overview of LoveLinks, so everyone kind of has like a background before we really dive in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I am Marisol McShane, and I've been attending Grace since we moved here to New Jersey in 2008. Did leave for some period of time. My husband is a retired Marine, and that's why we moved here. And we were supporting our local chapel, but really felt the need to come back home. So we came back home, and this is where we've been. I'm a mother of 4 and a proud wife of my sweetheart.
That's so cute.
Let's see, what else? That's pretty much it, if you want just to know about who I am. As far as LoveLinks, yes, it's a nonprofit. And what we do is we just want to spread the love of Jesus into some of the darkest places, and those places are the strip clubs in the local area.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Like, how did LoveLinks start?
Yeah, so I was invited to a concert in 2013. My friends actually had an extra ticket, and I really fought not to go because I was worried about my kids and all this, and ended up going, and that is truly where my eyes were opened to the atrocity of human trafficking. So during the concert, if any of you are familiar with the abolitionist group, Christine Caine is the founder of A21, which stands for Abolish Slavery in the 21st Century. And she was speaking on like the TVs. And what she was saying is not only was she going through statistics, but she was saying how anybody's susceptible to human trafficking. And I felt like my world really stopped. I had no idea that that was happening, and at the level that it was happening, and to who it was happening to. It was happening to women and children, but it was also happening to little boys, and it was labor trafficking and sex trafficking. And I was just not only shocked, I think I was like, how do I not know about this? But how can I do something about this? So I immediately went like that Sunday, and I talked to Pastor Shagun, and I said, oh my gosh, this is what we have. Like, we have a problem, but we don't have like a ministry here that focuses on human trafficking. And he goes, oh, you need to get with Tim, and just let him know what you want to do. And so sure enough, within a couple weeks, I got with Tim, and I said, there's not a ministry that focuses on human trafficking. Is there, what can we do about it? And he's like, oh, send me your proposal. And I was like, yeah. So, I mean, I wasn't asking to do it. So,
Right.
And that went really fast. Like, I started doing a lot of research, and that's when I figured out, oh, okay, that there's like, this is overwhelming statistically, and I'm one person. So I just concentrated on what I could do. And so I started like advertising on social media. This is how we can get involved. And then something pretty crazy happened because there was a long period of time that you had to do some research, right?
Yeah.
And what I was trying to do, I wasn't really sure. Yes, I wanted to educate,
Yeah.
but there was more that we could do.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the church really, anybody I spoke to here was really supportive, and we and a fellow a friend of mine actually said, hey, I've really been seeing a lot of the social media posts. What can I do to get involved? And I said, oh, you can help me. We can start advertising about, like how to fight for freedom, basically, and fight against human trafficking. And so we showed this movie, Nefarious.
Oh, yes.
And that was a screening. And that was really cool because people attended and they were really interested in how to get involved. And some people didn't even know, right? Like me.
Right.
But that still wasn't enough. And as I looked at what linked, what was linking human trafficking, what was feeding human trafficking, you really ended up finding out, okay, so it's the sex industry that'll fuel that.
Yeah.
And so I drove by quite a few strip clubs on just in my daily, and I was like, oh, okay. So if that is an industry that feeds into, and the industry itself, the girls that work there can become vulnerable to traffickers, that's where we need to go. And so while initially it was about raising awareness about human trafficking, God took it to the next level because it ended up turning into a gospel issue. Because for me, it wasn't about, okay, let's get them out. It was more about, let's bring Christ in.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that they can come out of that.
Right, because the Holy Spirit will do the Holy Spirit work.
Yeah.
But even if they came out, I don't have the resources to tell them, okay, you're making X amount of money, but now you'll have to work at like a fast food place.
Yeah.
So, how, although if you think about it this way, no little girl wants to work in an industry like this.
Yeah.
Once they're in, it's very hard to get out because the money is a driver, or addiction has now happened.
Right.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So then what do you do to get them, like once they are out, do you have another organization that you work with that like comes alongside them to help them get the resources and stuff to get out? Or do you have another like step in your program or in your ministry? How does that work?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. If you ask me how many got out, we're not sure.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because this is what we'll call a seed planting ministry.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. I follow.
So, when the ministry itself is all about, like I just said, bringing the hope of the gospel in. It's really getting the love of the church outside of the walls of the church. Right? So it's that kind of ministry where you're going out fishing for men. That's what you're doing essentially. And what we do, so maybe this is a good time to talk about like what a ministry night looks like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
So and if you want, I can tell you like when it started, like officially started. So the ministry itself started, the first launch after the connection was made. And I'm not doing this by myself. Like I have a wonderful team that has supported me. I've had members come for a season and then leave because everybody's so important. You can't do this kind of ministry
Right.
by yourself. And so when we first started, it was a young lady that approached me at work, and we had worked for a long time together. I worked for the Department of Navy, and we had worked together for a long time, and she heard through the grapevine that there was this ministry that was, I wanted to raise awareness about human trafficking, and that I was going to go to a training down south specifically for strip club ministry. And she was like, I'm totally interested. And I was like, because me and my righteous chair was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I love how God humbles me. Like, that's your girl. That's who's going to go.
Yeah.
So we went down to Atlantic City and trained with just this woman that just loves Jesus so much. And she took us into clubs, and she showed us exactly what you need to do to develop some relationship. And so November 18th, 2014, was the first time that LoveLinks went out. And what's really cool about this is before it launched, I remember leaving work, and you ever have just a really bad day at work, and you're like, wow, that was hard, and I felt so defeated, and even as I walked out, I remember feeling a heaviness, just kind of downcast, right? Just I was holding something so heavy, and I was like, now why would you pick me, God, to do this? I have no resources. I don't have the money. I definitely don't have the education to start a nonprofit. I don't have anything. And I promise you, as I was walking through that parking lot, he was like, you're right, but I am the God of unlimited resources. And I was like, I felt like a pep in my step. I was like, okay, that's it. God's got this, So we launched off, and at the time had just a few members, and we really didn't have any funds. And we all pitched in the money to get little baked goods and get little tags and all this. And then here we are, officially became a nonprofit after the generous gift that Grace gave as a love offering in I hope I get this right, 17. Maybe it was 2018. Forgive me, Tim.
He'll call us and correct us. Don't worry.
Okay. But after that love offering, it has God has been so faithful to provide absolutely everything that you need for this ministry. Because the intent of the ministry is we go to clubs, the area clubs, we go to the clubs, and we give every girl that we meet a gift, which this is what
that's the
my
bag.
little...
She has a bag. It has the word sparkle on it. It's really cute. It's a canvas bag.
So this is just examples of what we would give for a monthly gift. So one of our she's on our board. She made these. Her name's Hannah. She's wonderful. She's launching.
Marisol, just make sure you speak into the mic.
Yes,
and
okay.
Try not to crackle it too much.
Oh, sorry. I'm sure
good.
that was really annoying, guys. I'm sorry. So this is a water bottle. And the verse out of Psalm 63:1, my soul thirsts for you, oh God, was given as a gift to the ladies. They get a gift. They get a baked good that we have amazing bakers that have helped. And they get a handwritten card. So I bring you an example here. And the cards are made by a team that stays very anonymous.
Okay.
Faithfully make these handmade cards.
Oh wow, they're so pretty.
Oh, they're amazing. This is just one.
See.
This is
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like something like
We can post a picture
Yeah.
on our
Yeah,
social
we
media.
should.
So that is one of the gifts. Our
Got, like,
own
a crayon.
Shelly made these for last month's gift.
Wow.
That's cute.
That's
So when I
awesome.
tell you how much work goes into these gifts, nothing is very seldom is something repeated. We do give nail polishes and that kind of stuff, but we have such a creative team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was last month's
is that
gift.
an ornament? What?
It's like maybe a window. You could hang it on your window. It's a little love
really
stitch.
cool.
Okay.
What's that called? Like it's
Embroidery.
Embroidery.
you.
Yeah. This was
Why can't
one
you see it?
gift from a couple years ago.
Wow.
Oh, that's cute. It's a little canvas pouch.
Mhm.
It says God's glow.
Cute.
Yeah, with Ecclesiastes 3:11.
Oh, and it comes with a little cross zipper.
Which was made. It was made by one of our team members. Made. And when I tell you gifts, like we're not talking 20 gifts. We're talking 90 gifts. Between, we've gone from 50 to 70 to 90 to we are up to 120 starting last month because
Wow.
we have expanded.
That's awesome.
That's incredible.
This is another gift that the ladies got. You're already amazing. It was just a little calendar. It was such a blessing to some of our girls that they cry because they're like, I look at that calendar. I have it in my kitchen table. My kids have it. It's incredible.
Aw.
That's awesome.
Especially since like I know these like women in the industry are so used to things being like taken from them. So when you like give them something, it must mean like the world to them. Yeah, I can only imagine their faces like lighting up when
I know.
especially a handmade gift that your team takes time to make. That's really awesome.
What is the reaction? Like you
Yeah.
go
Yeah, such a
into
good
like a club and then you're like, here's a cup that has a Bible verse
Yeah,
on
that's
it.
a good point.
You know?
Like, how do they react
Yeah.
to that?
Man, you guys, like my heart is being flooded with just so much goodness. It really is like the way God has opened up doors is incredible. But I'll tell you where it starts. It starts with the foundation of prayer. There, we definitely have people who have been praying, continue to pray, near and far.
Yeah.
We have my girlfriend lives in Oklahoma. Faithful prayers. Like we really have just this amazing group of people that are faithful to pray because that's what it takes. So
Yeah.
we go into a club. We are welcomed at this point. Most of the clubs that we are visiting, we are well established, and
That's so interesting.
we you know what's really cool is like I would be okay if they listen to this because they know that for me I want to do anything to protect their identity,
Yeah.
their stories, but just they are really our friends.
Yeah.
Okay, they have become our friends, and so they've allowed us. It's like inviting your friend
Yeah.
to
your
your
home.
home, right?
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of respect for these managers, the bouncers, the owners that invite us in and let us talk to their girls. Like they're not threatened by us. We're not a threat. You asked you made a really good point. Like they might be, they're probably shocked when they see these gifts. Yes, because we come in with no strings attached. We don't want anything from you.
Yeah.
That's not why we're here. You don't have to pay us. We've had various reactions. So we have some that are like just receiving of the gift and are like, oh, this for me. I remember one year one of our volunteers, she's so creative, and she's like, oh, I want to make everybody Easter baskets. And one of the girls that received it said, I have never received an Easter basket. And we were like, wow. I mean, just like she was so moved by this small gift.
Yeah.
We've had some that want to pay for it because they don't know how to accept free gifts.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So imagine that. Now you're bringing the hope of the gospel through a verse on a cup.
Yeah.
So, right? So what does that say? And we've had ladies who don't want anything to do with us.
Yeah.
And we've had women tear up the cards right in front of us and throw it at us. So
Wow.
we've had it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah, I think about that. Like, well, I think it's even interesting, too, that, like, you can have a relationship with the managers and the bouncers, and they're not necessarily, like, threatened by you, even though, like, you're trying to encourage like these women of like the hope in Christ. And I mean, from what you were sharing earlier too about like looking for a different kind of job, and just like how they're like, like the door is open. Like to me, I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
but at the same time, that's really cool. And I think that is what you're saying. Like the foundation of prayer is that like someone is praying for you. God, open these doors, allow for these women to be able to come in here. You're not demanding anything of them. You're not also, at least from what I can tell, like necessarily like pushing them to like a call to action, which is probably what would, threaten like the managers, the bouncers.
Right.
But you're like, hey, this is the gospel. This is blah, blah. And, and then they're like, they can come to a point where they're like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's super awesome. Like that really is the love that's like linking the relationship. LoveLinks. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I know.
My next question was like, how did you come up with the name LoveLinks? But maybe it was just Chris's epiphany that made it happen.
Yeah, no. So that's also a really cool story. When we trained in Atlantic City, we trained with
Marisol, just make sure you're speaking into the mic. I'm
we
sorry.
we trained with a young lady. Her name's Sissy, out in Atlantic City, and she was part of the organization. She was church planting, but the name of her strip club organization was Love's Way Out. So as we were sitting at the table, it was my coworker and myself. And we're sitting at the table. I'm like, well, I love this whole concept. So this is where we're gonna go with this.
Yeah.
I know I want the word love in there, but I just can't figure out. Okay, so we're talking, the three of us at this time, and then Sissy's talking, and she's saying, she's like, it's like Jesus is the missing link here. That's and Cass turns around, she goes, LoveLinks. And I was like, Jesus is the missing link.
Yeah.
I
mean, you talk about.
You had an epiphany moment, like
You
I had an epiphany moment. That's
So you
awesome.
talk about that kind of, that's where you know, like, God, you're in the details.
Oh yeah.
There's
Yeah.
nothing that even the doors that he's closed, he's like, it's not your time to go in.
Yeah.
Right.
My no is my best yes. Don't force your way. Don't try so hard.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost like he's saying, stop trying to work so hard for me and come work alongside me.
Yeah.
Because I'm already there.
Yeah.
I'm there. It's a memory to me.
Yeah.
So it's just so beautiful. Like everything that God has done, there's nothing that I can take credit for. Not a thing.
That's awesome.
Absolutely not a thing. I just can't. I'm really literally in awe of all who've come alongside me and believed in the idea. And some had really said, "You are crazy."
Everyone's crazy until they're a genius. That's kind of like the way that there's like a saying.
Why does that
like,
make sense?
There's a saying that goes that way,
Yeah,
like
sure.
where a lot of people will like grind out to like try and make something happen. And in the midst of that grind, people around them are being like, "What are you doing, wasting your time doing this?
Yeah.
Like you're putting so much energy into this. You shouldn't be. You have all this other stuff, blah blah blah."
Yeah.
But then once everything clicks and it looks well organized and like things are happening, then they're like, "You're a genius.
Yeah.
Like you saw this and I can't believe, good on you." So it's like, if you have a passion, pursue that passion. People might say you're crazy along the way, but if it's something that the Lord is calling you to, then keep moving.
Yeah.
People definitely called Noah crazy, but
Well,
we felt
yeah.
like-
I mean, that's a pretty crazy circumstance.
I mean, still.
Anybody can be doing that.
I wouldn't know how to measure it correctly.
Well, I was
Yeah.
even thinking of just Jesus's ministry of how like they thought he was crazy too.
That's
true.
And he was like, "Well, I came for the sick.
Yeah.
I didn't come for the healthy, so-called good-looking people that have it all together. He came for the broken." So he wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
No.
And I think it's really cool. I just keep going back to, I'm like a slow conversation like haver. Like I'm like still at the beginning of our conversation.
Yeah.
Still
where
unpacking.
where
It's
you were
processing.
like talking about how you went to this concert and that the woman was leading that conference and stuff, and she was like speaking, and then you like felt like you had this calling, or you felt like there was this need. You recognized the need. You went to Shags. Shags was like, "Go to Tim. Here's a proposal." And then at that point, so many people stop.
Right.
So many people stop where it's like, you know, I mean, we run into that like all the time, being like, you know, ministry heads and stuff like that. People will be like, hey, I see this need, and I'd like to benefit from that need being fulfilled. Can you hook me up with the person that's going to benefit me with that?
Yeah.
And then we're like, I'm sorry, but we ourselves don't actually have the capacity to do that.
Right.
But God has opened your eyes to this need. We'd love if you'd be able to fulfill that need. And then they're
You
like,
are the one to hook up with.
yeah,
Right?
yeah. And they're like, oh,
Yeah.
that's unfortunate, you know, and they just stop. But like, you had the courage and the submission to God, the obedience to the Lord, to actually follow through with that and actually like make something happen, like submit yourself to the Spirit in such a powerful way. And he just continued to provide for you. Like, you just kept submitting, and then it was like this and then this and then this, and now you got all this crazy stuff you're showing us. It's like a show and tell over here right now.
It's definitely a show and tell, yeah.
Yeah, which is so cool.
Yeah, you know, I'll just tap into that for a minute because you make a really good point. So you got to have champions in your life, right? You really do. And I am blessed to have a lot of men as my champions. Pastor Shagun said something that was really powerful. So in the beginning, because I didn't know which direction to take it, it was really difficult because I knew I wanted to do something, but I wasn't sure exactly what does it look like? What do I do? You know, and I have a full-time job, you know, crazy hours. You know, at the time the kids were little, right? We're talking 7 years. So, you know, 10, 11, it was a little nutty. And it was Mother's Day 2014, and I remember feeling really like, oh man, like I'm not sure, you know. And I even told my husband Kevin, I was like, I'm not sure, Kev. Like, this is hard work. This is like, it's hard work and it's hard work, right?
Yeah.
And so, we were in Nekong, and we were standing where they used to have like the, you know, what the food. I always stand near
cafe?
by food. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
So
food
I was always
Food is
there.
great. I'm always in the cafe too.
And Pastor Shagun, you know, he's like, Marisol, hey, how's it going? I said, it's going good. I said, this is like really hard. And he goes, can I tell you something? And I was like, okay. He goes, I feel like you are pregnant, and you're in the part where you're going through labor. And he said, so it's going to be hard and it's going to be painful. He said, there's a lot of people that stop here. He goes, but I see that you're about to give birth. I tell you, my husband hugged me so tight, and I was like, was that a good word? I mean, that's one of many, many good words that Pastor Shakes has given me. That was powerful. And I remember, I mean, I literally can remember just feeling that sense of, that's your goodness, God, over this. And little did I know that, you know, Pastor Ruben even said, like, this is yes, I love that you're doing this for the social cause of it. We need to, our hearts need to burden for this. He's like, but Marisol, this is a gospel issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that was like, and then just to have Tim be so supportive. I mean, to think that they picked LoveLinks to do a love offering. It's like, I'm not kidding you. It's like God's hand all over this.
That's huge.
Yeah, it is.
That's so awesome. That's so cool. Wow. That word, I've had moments with Shags like that too, where you're like,
Oh yeah.
he'll come up to you and say something really weird.
And
I
then
think
it
you're
makes sense.
pregnant. And you're like, I don't know why, but that makes sense.
If he said that to me now, I'd be like, listen, it's COVID. Okay. I couldn't get in my
That's awesome.
pants. Yeah.
But wow, that's so cool. Yeah.
I feel like I have another question. I feel like you've given us a lot of like your favorite memories or testimonies throughout it. But if you could pick your absolute favorite of LoveLinks to this point, whether it's a memory or a testimony that you have or any of those things, like which one would you say is your favorite?
Yeah, so I did take a peek of your questions, like I said, but I thank you that I wanted to talk it more this way, where we
Yeah.
can have this dialogue. And I really can't pick one. Yeah, I can pick one, but I really can't pick one because
Yeah,
it's
that's
so
okay.
good.
That's
Okay,
okay.
so
We're loving all the
one
ones you're sharing
of
already.
one of our industry girls asked to have a Bible study.
Oh, wow.
Okay, in the club.
In the club.
She said,
Come on, yeah.
"Hey, do you guys have a Bible study I could attend?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, like." You look back at our journals, that's exactly what we had been praying for.
Oh, wow.
We've been praying that we could have a Bible study, all right? We have a Bible study, but this girl takes it to the bank.
Okay.
She literally
Took it to
has
the bank.
left
Oh, okay.
the industry,
Yeah.
is married,
Whoa.
and follows Jesus.
Wow.
Amazing.
And she refers to 3 of us, Barb, Shelly, and I, as her mamas, her Jesus mamas.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that it is. I mean, and that's I had to give you because I can't go into detail, but that
Yeah.
is powerful.
No,
Yeah.
it is.
So how does something like she said she wanted to have a Bible study in the club? Did that actually happen? Like
So
you actually
we-
had a Bible study?
So how did you make that work?
So she asked us in the club, is what I meant.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Gotcha. All right. I was
mean,
like,
not that
I love your
Wow.
O simultaneously.
I think we're probably picturing the same thing, that you
We're
just
like, our
brought out
brain-
Bibles in the middle
Yeah.
of the club and you're having a Bible study, which I mean, all for that, but I was just
Yeah.
asking.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably what I
But do
was
you want to
thinking.
hear about something similar
mean-
like that?
yeah.
So yeah, we have been able to pray literally in the club. Okay, so when I tell you, you know when Lauren Daigle's song came out, "Holy Spirit, You're Welcome Here."
Yeah.
Literally, it's "Holy Spirit, You're Welcome Here," and he's like, "Yeah, I'm already there." Because if we receive Jesus, He lives in us. His Spirit lives in us, so we're not apart from Him.
Yeah.
So here we are, we're saying, Jesus, like, you are welcome here. Like, Holy Spirit, come in. And no kidding, we have prayed with managers, with owners, with girls,
Wow.
with patrons.
Yeah.
There's no one that God cannot touch. There's not one person in there that God isn't after. Not one. Not one.
That's so crazy.
It's crazy.
So, do you ever? Here's a question that's on my mind. Back when I was in college, there was this guy who ran this church. It was called Ink Church, and it was kind of like a little bit. It was for people who had tattoos,
Yeah,
basically.
okay. It sounds like a tattoo
Yeah,
kind of
okay.
thing.
Yeah, and one of the ministries that he had, because it was kind of just like an edgier church, was that they would go edgier. They would go
Put air quotes.
to porn conferences. Like,
Oh, okay,
they would,
yeah.
Like just like conferences where they were just having like a
Like a
bunch of sex,
convention.
sex workers like
Yeah.
show up and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and all the different ways that people could get involved in that. And he would go there, and they would go with their spouses and everything to like minister to people there. They would actually have like a booth there, which was kind of like crazy. I don't know how he set that up, but he would go and minister there. And when he would share that while I was in school, people would always give like pushback on that kind of like ministry. I'm wondering, does anyone ever give you pushback on the kind of ministry that you participate in, or does everyone just generally understand what you're doing?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. If they give me pushback, they probably do it behind my back, right?
Okay.
Because I think my personality doesn't do well if I'm not afraid of confrontation. So
Yeah.
I can maybe push back a little more too. Like, okay, tell me why you would,
Yeah.
why you don't think we should be in there, right?
Yeah.
And because I'm not a conservative person in the sense of, so when you're in this kind of ministry, right? You're unashamed of the gospel,
Yeah.
and you're unapologetic
Mm-hmm.
because your salvation's at stake,
Right.
right? So I think that in the sense of, is somebody giving me pushback? Maybe not right to my face. I think when I first came out with, hey, this is what I'm thinking, there was just even in my circle that love me can say, girl, you crazy,
Yeah.
right? And I think you can accept that, and you should when it's your circle. But I think when it's outside, like, like, will the church receive it? Do they know? Do we, right? When I say the church, right?
Yeah.
Will we be okay if she comes to church with us here?
Yeah.
Would it matter to you if I brought somebody? Would you assume that it's her?
I
Yeah.
see what you're
Right?
saying.
So I think that we all have to be open, right? Because chances are maybe she'll be dressed just like you and I, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe not. And how do we accept people who are maybe not dressed what we think should be in a sweater vest, right?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of like what we. So I feel like, in the sense of like protecting any of the girls who have attended church, especially with one of our volunteers, like her pastor doesn't want to know, right? Because that's not important what she does for a living. You know, the reality is that the industry girls, statistically, which I hate statistics, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Every time you walk in there, if you said, well, what's the rate of your success? Well, the rate of success is, did we go in and share the gospel?
Yeah.
Because if I shared the gospel, that's success.
Yeah.
Because what did I say? It's a seed planting ministry. I'm not going to see that, cut the altar call.
Yeah.
We may never see that until the other side of heaven.
Yeah.
So, like the story I shared, it was one girl who just said, do you have this Bible study? And then all of a sudden couldn't reconcile the two lives. And she's like, I got to get out.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
I'm not sure if I answered your question directly.
Yeah. No. I think
like you did.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that was. I mean, I think you even answered more questions than I had, which is better than even just the question I asked alone, because you went into, one of your girls going into church and like what that kind of encounter can be like, whether people should know or shouldn't know, and the whole aspect of kind of the same struggle of the Inc. church. Like people feel like at times they have to create a whole new church just to be able to be a broken person coming into a house, because they recognize that they need saving. But all of a sudden the person who's never experienced having to have that kind of, choosing to have that kind of job is now like, oh, who are you? This incorrect judgmental perspective that can come in when you aren't doing the kinds of ministry that the Lord has like called you to do, which is to to love everybody. And he didn't come for those who are perfect. He came for those who are struggling too.
Yeah, imagine the rejoicing when anybody, male, female, leaves the sex industry. And what I mean by that is when we go in and we see the brokenness, because men are paying for the entertainment, right? And what has Hollywood done? What has America done? What has our society done? They've glamorized. I mean, you could get a strip bus if you wanted to.
Wow.
But the reality is that it leaves these women feeling like worthless, because they're not getting their worth from men paying for entertainment.
Yeah.
You're objectifying them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But so we're going to go in there and we're going to say, hey, Jesus loves you right here as you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And guess what? He loves us so much, he doesn't keep us there.
Yeah.
That's true. It goes along with all the gifts that you pulled out. Each one kind of has like an affirmation of Jesus's love. Like you have one that says, you are loved. Then you have my soul thirsts for you, oh God.
Yeah.
Like all these ones that talk about like how God loves you where you are, no matter where you are.
Right.
So I think that those gifts and those messages that you give to those women probably like speaks more than they even realize to them too,
We sure hope so.
Yeah.
This ministry, right, is not for the faint of heart.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not. It literally. When I tell you, God even told me before this all was going down. Are you ready to weep? are you ready for your heart to be broken?
Yeah.
And time again, my heart has broken.
Yeah.
My heart has ached. What we see there, right? I mean, we see it all.
Yeah.
You see the brokenness. I just can't. It's so much. When you ask me for a favorite moment, like there's so many that are so good, but there are so many that have literally broken our hearts. Where we are in the car just weeping
Yeah.
and asking God,
Yeah,
like,
I can imagine.
how do we, how do we do this, God?
Yeah.
How do we do this? How do we bring your hope? How do we, in a situation where,
Can I ask a reflective question? Because at the beginning of this, when you told us how you got into this ministry, you said you went to a concert, and before that you had no idea about this kind of world, right? Now looking at yourself now, having been in the world, like helping out those women, do you feel like your heart has grown in different ways that like it couldn't have before, or do you see yourself like do you feel like you were changed too, like in this whole process,
Yeah, so I want to correct. It wasn't that I had never been exposed to the world. So I had. So I actually come from that kind of world, right? So I didn't work in a strip club. I worked at a club where we wore very little. Okay? So I had exposure, and I also knew what it was to compete. I also knew that I was only as good as my manager told me I was that night. Okay? I was only as good as that tip that was left. I was only as good. Okay? So, and I also promoted, like, hey, you want some fast money? We could work at strip clubs. Like, that's easy.
Wow.
Not knowing, not connecting, because this is pre-Jesus. Okay?
Yeah.
So fast forward, when she was talking, I was really looking at the human trafficking portion of it more than the sex trafficking. It's all connected. But so when I started doing it, I realized, oh Lord, like you protected me from a life that could have damaged my world, and so. It's when you look at it that way, of course, you can't help but change in this ministry. Your heart ought to change in this ministry. Your heart should break. Let me give you an example of this. Let's go back to the porn, right? There's controversy in that.
Yeah.
Well, what are you doing, right? What are you doing? Because now. Now you're going and you're exposing yourself to that, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a lens through, that's the Pharisee lens you're looking through.
Yeah.
When you're doing that. When you're saying, oh, you shouldn't do. Okay? But if you're called, right? Because here's what happens, and this is why porn's so dangerous. And the sex industry itself is so dangerous. Like, this isn't a light topic. I know that.
Yeah.
But people who are addicted to porn, whether they're male or female, are taking pleasure in people's brokenness.
Yeah, it's true.
So when the men and women are paying for the entertainment at the strip clubs, they're taking pleasure in people's brokenness, not realizing that they too are broken. Because it just turned because our world is so broken. And the enemy thinks it's his territory, right?
Yeah.
He thinks, and it is. It's Satan's playground. But when we walk in, we have to walk in with confidence that we're bringing light.
Yeah. You have the authority of Jesus Christ with you.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah.
Preaching there, girl.
Just saying.
True.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the
Light into
church
the
ladies are
darkness.
here.
Yeah.
Is that what they say?
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. See, they know it.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, we're not hiding it. That's why I think, going back to your other question about the managers letting us in, right?
Yeah.
We're not hiding it. See, I want to be transparent with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To probably appreciate that.
What was that like the first time
Yeah.
that you went into a strip club and you were like, were you scared?
Yeah, so even now I still get a little like.
Yeah, I
nervous,
would.
like,
I mean,
yeah.
I would probably be like.
Well, I mean, we wouldn't let you go in, but yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, no. Yeah, but I mean, like, even if I go to like a restaurant or something like that, I don't know if I have to like ask a manager or something.
Can
you
I
know.
have a table for 6?
Yeah, I don't
Like,
know.
this isn't the salad I ordered. Kid.
You're like, yeah.
But I'll eat it anyways.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes if you
Just to not ask.
sometimes
Sorry.
if you no, you guys are good. It's fine. Sometimes if you have to ask like an authority something that you know is confrontational, no
yeah,
matter
I see what
who
you're
it
saying.
is or what circumstance you're in, for me, I would probably be like a little nervous. I don't even know if I would know what to say. Like, did you like rehearse what it is that you were gonna say, or did you go in and you were like, I'm just gonna say
Like, do you have like
whatever
cue
comes
cards that
to
you were
mind?
like practice with, or you know?
Hold on.
Usually, if I ask for a
Yeah, really.
spoon,
Wait,
I'll
hold on.
have my
I
cue
messed
I have
card.
an answer for this question. Hold on.
Yeah, no, you want it to be very natural.
Yeah.
There are kind of standard things like, so one of the things, right, you always want to introduce yourself with, hello, I'm Marisol, right? So there, I'm already hoping that you're not going to be on the defensive because I've already told you my name.
Yeah. Ooh, names.
So,
That's actually
very
a good
true.
point.
so hello, I'm Marisol. I'm with LoveLinks. We visit the local clubs and local establishments to give out gifts, just to tell the girls, we know it's a really difficult, line of work. We just want to encourage them. And they're either going to say yes or no. They're going to look at us. I'll tell you this much. So we just expanded last month or
Yeah.
January, right? So January
Congrats.
we expanded.
That's awesome.
Am I on time? Like, am I?
No,
Oh,
you're
people
fine.
always
Oh, no.
ask that. I'll sit here for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
No, don't worry. You're
Okay.
fine.
So January. So going back to when you go and visit any place, and here's what I'll say about any ministry: if you have the right team on your side, they're going to tell you, did you take this to the Lord? You could have a group of very wise people, but until they say, are you taking this to the Lord, they're really not that wise.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
You've got to have that. You've got to have that
Yeah.
on your back, And so we had been praying that we were going to expand. We knew that it was probably time that God was going to expand this territory. Danielle and Hannah, they live closer on the east side. And if we told you how many clubs, there's too many. Like, we don't have a big enough team. But they're very hungry to get out there. So faithfully, they prayed, we've prayed. And I eventually had to say, okay, hey, we're going to launch off. We're going to do it. I have no idea. January 23rd is what I said. Okay, we go out. It's 4 of us. We have gifts. So what you want to do is you want to say, I'm going to take the gift with nothing, expecting nothing in return.
Yeah.
So if I have to leave the gifts, I have to be willing to have a loss because
Yeah.
I really don't want to lose this, but I'm going to lose, baked goods. I'm going to take baked goods for the very first time.
yeah.
Okay. So it's minimal impact because what I want to do is be wise with people who give money for the gifts. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So we went and we were rejected. All right. And rejection hurts no matter who you are or what you've been rejected at. Okay.
Yeah.
I've lived it plenty. So I think I've gotten okay with it. But really, we were disappointed because
Yeah.
we were like, man, we really thought God was going to expand this. Like,
Yeah.
we thought that this was the time. And so we went and prayed over another club and just said, okay. So I said, hey, listen, so the guy said we could leave the gifts. One of the clubs said, you can leave the gifts. You can leave the gifts. Just leave them. And we left the gifts and the cards and all eyes on us. We go and pray at another club. I said, hey, I know this is discouraging. Let's try again. We'll try again next month. And, because the 2 gals are like hungry for it. And they so having LoveLinks East helps also because not only are we expanding, but connection is much easier when you're in the proximity,
Yeah.
isn't
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so because they live so much farther, it's hard to connect with maybe the West Side
Yeah.
industry girls. So last month, Hannah and Danielle had been faithful to pray over these clubs, and we always meet to break bread. We meet at pizzerias, we meet at a diner, we meet at my house. It's always break bread that Thursday or whatever night we're going to go on outreach.
Yeah.
and we have that time to have community, right? To build our internal relationship, our sisterhood, our friendship, okay? And then we go out, and that particular night, Hannah says, okay, we're going to go to this club, and she's soft-spoken, she's just great. And we go, and we're like, okay, no matter what, God, no matter what. And we have our little gifts in hand, and we have to take cover charge money because they might charge us a cover charge, okay? And we were reminded that we had to take IDs because the girls look so young. They were like, maybe they're not going to let them in the club. It's hilarious, okay? So we get into this club, and there's this like a curtain, like a welcoming place, like where they're going to get your money or whatever, right? And it looks almost like a concession stand to me, I guess is how I would describe it. And we're like, is anybody here? Is there a manager here? We're looking around. Yeah. And then he pops out. And
From
he's
behind
like,
the curtain?
yeah, and he's like, hey.
Like Wizard
and
of
I
Oz.
was like, and so now Hannah's the lead on the east side, and she's like introducing herself, and then she tells him, and he goes, yeah, hold on just a second. She's like, can you ask somebody if we can come in and drop off gifts? And he comes like maybe just a couple seconds later, and he goes, yeah, go ahead.
Wow.
And we're like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From rejection to acceptance.
Was it the same place?
No.
Or was it a different
Okay,
place?
Different
Okay.
place, different
Yeah.
month.
Wow. Okay.
So then we go to the club that we were rejected at,
Yeah.
and he was very polite, but his words were very thoughtful. He said, we read your cards. Unfortunately, it's the nature of the business. You're not allowed here. You can't come. So we were like, okay. And we just
Yeah.
shook the dust off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way.
We go to another club. The guy literally says to us, after the bouncer gets the manager comes out. Same thing. He goes, yeah, I don't care. Go ahead.
Wow.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Then he said something interesting. Weren't you guys here? Didn't you used to come? And I'm like, no, we've never come to this area. So now I'm thinking, is there another strip club ministry
Yeah.
that we would not want to,
Like encroach upon, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
because then we'll have to back out because there's plenty of clubs to visit if that's the case, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But doesn't matter. We were accepted. We walked in. He said he didn't remember when. He didn't, and so here we are. We're now in 7 clubs. So 2 on the east, 5 on the west, and we are up to 120 gifts.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
And
so
every club, every manager or bouncer, whoever greets us at the door, gets a baked good, whether it be a cake, a banana bread, anything to give us like that. Hey,
Yeah.
we're here. We
Like
appreciate
that connection point with them. Yeah.
awesome.
That's amazing.
Awesome. Yeah.
So, I guess I have a question about like. So you started this back 2017. I remember a time where you came to my parents' house when I was still in high school, I think.
Yeah.
And you like did something with Steph and
Yeah,
the
your
basement or
sister.
something.
Yeah,
that
really
was super
awesome.
awesome. But you're obviously you have like a lot of like that was just like an aside. But
Yeah, I was like, you should maybe clarify.
Yeah,
but it's
clarify
okay.
that.
Oh, it was for
yeah.
she was teaching a Bible study and then had me come.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I got to talk a
I didn't
little
even-
bit. And she actually her group that she was hosting that night also helped with cards because. So can you imagine? Not only do we have a team that makes them, we have people who write scripture or write a. Like an inspiring message inside. So
Yeah.
it takes a lot. There's a lot of hands and feet that go into this ministry.
Oh, that's really cool.
That some never even come out of the out into the limelight. That's not
Gotcha.
important to them. They just want to do it because of their
Right.
love.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me clarify
Yeah,
that.
we were just like, that, what?
You're like, oh, in the basement.
Oh, okay. I know. I'm like, okay.
I was
And
just,
they like knew, but we didn't know, and it was just like, what's happening? But anyway, continue with what your point was.
I was just recalling a memory. But outside of that, I was thinking about like, okay, so your ministry is like very hands-on, and you have to go into places.
Yeah.
COVID. What did you do during
yeah.
COVID?
Oh, such
How
a
was that?
good. Yeah. Yeah. You know, I love that you asked that. Even though we couldn't visit, the clubs were closed, right?
Okay, yeah.
More connections were made and established and sustained through COVID.
Wow.
Because remember, loneliness happened.
Yeah.
Connection was
Yeah.
needed.
Wait, so the girls that you were connected with pre-COVID,
Right.
then in the midst of COVID, reached out to you?
Yeah.
Wow,
Okay.
that's crazy.
That is really cool.
Yeah. And every one of the girls on the team, like our team is wonderful because every one of us is equipped to do something different, right?
Yeah.
And they one of the things that I think our team does well is that we've bonded as a sisterhood, and so we're very confident to not ever say, well, that's not my role. That's and we're very confident in the friendships that we have with the girls. Just because she didn't call me, it doesn't mean she's not going to call you, and I'm happy for that.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Right?
like whoever she makes a connection
That's
with. That's
right.
What
It's
we're going for.
that's right.
Wow.
And if you think, and I'll take it one step further
Yes,
for
I love
you.
that.
Go for it.
Because here's what's really exciting. Let's just do the math. Let's just do the math.
I'm bad at math.
Okay. It's 3 minutes maybe that we'll get with one girl for 12 months.
Wow.
But all those text messages, all the hellos, all the hugs, those 3 minutes mean so much. We have heard stories upon stories. We've heard of death. We've heard of births. We've heard of addictions. We've heard that they can't pay their bills. We've heard they need Christmas gifts for their kids. Because that's how outside
Yeah.
of time God is when He's moving through relationship.
That's wild. Wait, so you're saying like over the course of a year?
Over a course of a year, I may only know her for 36 minutes, right? Because it's three,
Oh,
three,
wow.
yeah.
Each
I
time
got
go
more.
on,
Maybe,
yeah.
right? So maybe 36 minutes I've actually spent with her in a club. I've
But-
made a connection that way.
Wow.
But then all of a sudden, you're texting.
Yeah, telling her.
We're
about-
connecting.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's amazing.
That's crazy.
It is so evident that God is so after His daughters.
Yeah.
She and I are no different. I'm feeding my kids too. I ended up to land a really good job. I chose a different path. I made other choices, right? She and I are no different.
Yeah.
So what I really struggle with is anybody who says, "Oh, you go see those girls in those places."
Yeah.
So what girls are you talking about? Because I think you and I look the same.
Right.
And what places are you not busy? Because maybe you're not walking into a strip club, and maybe in your bedroom you're watching porn,
Yeah.
or maybe you're dealing with pride,
Yeah.
or maybe you're so busy judging others that you can't get out there to do any ministry. So that's why, if and I have, and I won't mention names, of course not, but I've had interactions like that really. I remember Kevin said, "Let's please leave now."
Yeah.
Because it's important for me to convey how valuable these women are to me.
Yeah.
But it does not compare to how they are to God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He loves them so much. He loves them so much, and everything about them. But you know what I love is that our team too, like our team desires like for breakthrough for them, but also for the men. Like the men are so important to us, right?
Yeah.
Like that man could, if he just like like had the love of Jesus, if he had an encounter with our Christ,
Yeah.
right? The trajectory of a life, because he's the lead of a home, could change drastically. I can't get over it.
Yeah.
I can't.
The trajectory of so many lives.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Because like if he is, you know, I mean, if he's single, that alone, but then if he's a husband or if he's a father and you know he thinks that his secret sin isn't affecting anybody, right? Or maybe it's open, because some cultures are just like, this is normal, this is a part of being a man. Like that next generation is impacted by his decisions. His wife is impacted by his decisions. And so like that's my mind. There's so many things that you're saying that my mind's like being like blown by. I think by the most is that amount of time, that short amount of time of, you said 36 minutes. It's like I'm thinking about my lack of faith in, at times, for my youth group, when I think I get them 2 times a week for maybe 3 hours in total for like the whole week, and I'm like, what, like how much of an impact am I making? That's like a ton more time than you get with these girls. And like God is working faithfully through you. And I think even more so to like all the people who like go to their job and are like, yeah, well, I just don't have enough time to talk to my coworkers about faith. I don't have enough time to talk to my family about faith or my friends about faith. Like I just don't have enough time. And you're like, 36 minutes a year. That's what
It's
I
like
need.
a Netflix episode.
Yeah. Because that's what the Lord's going to use. And it's not about what you're capable of in
Yeah.
a certain amount of time, but it's about what God will do through you if you submit yourself to Him in that time.
Seed planting, like you said, you're a seed planting.
Yeah. And being
Manifestation
okay with
ministry.
that, which I think is just like a whole nother aspect of it. It's like how like to be a ministry that doesn't necessarily have success metrics, right?
Right.
Where you're like, this year, this many girls came to blah, blah, blah. It's more like, this year, we planted this many seeds, you know? Like, we're cool with doing that when it comes to, like, planting trees. We'll, like, give tons of money to, like, some organization, and we'll say, like, hey, you know, this organization said they're going to plant, like, 1 million trees.
Never thought of it, but you're right. Though.
You know,
It's
and
that.
we're like, yeah, sure, I'll give you money. You're gonna go plant trees. But then
Never
when
see
it
the
comes
tree.
to, I think at times, you never see the
Yeah,
tree.
you never see the truth.
Like I think at times when it comes to ministries that don't give you their upfront metrics or something like that,
Yeah.
you know, to say like, oh, this is our level of success from this past year. Don't you want to give money to us? You know, it's like, hey, we actually talked to, you know, this many girls, and we don't know what happened.
Right.
But we shared the gospel with them. Like, some people might be like, yeah, but what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, what are you talking about? What am I doing? I shared the gospel with them. You know, I want you to partner in that with me, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to see the, like, quote unquote, like, well, I'll say harvest, because the fruit is just in the fact that you're doing it, right? And like that is enough of a testimony in itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay, sorry, I'm done. I was just that was like all my processing, like just like blowing up.
I'm sorry. My throat got a little scratchy, and we don't have water.
But
Okay, I'm good.
yeah.
Yeah, it's it's definitely a ministry that you know. And here's the thing: do we really, or should we really strive to have a level of metrics when you talk about relationship?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I'm not.
I mean,
I'm not on that bus.
I mean, we do, we all do, right?
Yeah.
I'm definitely, you know, I work in a field where I need to know metrics. I gotta have that. But I think with this, you can't. You gotta take that out. You gotta take that. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you, there is something that our motto is 1 by 1, capital O, 1 by love. I got that shortly after I had realized that Tim wanted a proposal. I was on a work trip and in the hotel, and I do carry like pen and paper with me pretty much everywhere, because I feel like God's always talking to me, like, put that down, write that down, take that note. And it was 2 a.m, and I woke up from a dead sleep. And he said, you're going to do this 1 by 1, 1 by love. That's how you're going to do it.
1 by 1, 1 by love. Wow.
I was like, I I am pretty sure I kept that little piece of paper, and it's in one of my journals, because only that could have come from God.
Yeah.
Only that kind of, and that's really what we do is, it's for the one.
Yeah.
Right.
It's for the one.
Right.
That is a super patient perspective. You know, a super patient like vision, which again is just the opposite of what a lot of people would like. You know, like they want that moment where, and 3,000 were added to us that day. You know, like they want like that kind
Like
of
the masses.
Yeah,
which
like
is, it should be that too, but it's like where does that start?
it starts with that patient like few, you know, where you're like really and you're expanding, which is what's so cool. And the people that have been involved in this ministry, you can see their love for it too, because I mean, I actually know Danielle.
Right. She's a powerhouse. She is faithful to go anywhere under any weather to meet anybody.
Yeah. She's awesome. She's like, she's 100%.
She's
on the
she's
things
100%.
she does.
Yeah. And I think, while I could name every one of our team members, because no one is higher than anyone else, right? We're all on an equal playing ground. I think that there are those few that really are like, wow, like you just got to be like, wow, you don't even know what you're bringing to the table.
Yeah.
Right? Like we have one, Anne-Marie actually comes to our church. She's been faithfully praying for years. 4 years. There's
That's
not,
awesome.
I don't think she's missed, like just praying. Lainey, she's our lead baker, bakes. I mean, the amount of stuff she bakes, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, no one wants these. It's like, Amber with the cards. You just name like every, and then I'm like, do you even know? Do you even know what kind of impact you're having?
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
You want nothing to do with you. You don't care if your name is on the under the lights, right?
Yeah.
And you just faithfully show up. Rachel, we have this young lady, Rachel. She speaks such life. You almost are like, are you for real?
Yeah.
Like such life. And that's the thing, right? You need people to speak life. Marilyn, brand new to our team. I could go on.
Yeah.
Lydia from years ago. I could go on and on. Susan Penzic. I really could. But I think that's the thing with this kind of ministry. Like you're going to have where you come in for seasons, I think, and some stay steady. Right? Some are meant to stay steady, and that's with any ministry.
Yeah.
But then some just do. And you have to be okay with seasons. You have to be adaptable, right? You have to be alert in this ministry, right? You have to stay vigilant. When you're walking into Satan's territory, you better be vigilant.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Do you know how good God is? God is so good, like, he doesn't even let us remember things. Like, the music, say the music's, right? Like, I struggle with music. Still like Dr. Dre. I won't lie. And I tell you, God's like, no, we're going to take that out.
Yeah.
Because that music's no good for you. But he's so good. Your eyes. When you want to bring value to somebody, look them in the eye.
It's true. One of
Which
the
a lot of
important
them are
parts of
probably not
communication.
But
used to.
even more
Yeah.
so when she's standing in front of you naked.
Right.
I value you. It doesn't matter. It's okay. Do you know what makes my heart ache so much? I'll tell you another story that really impacted me. I remember one time one of our girls went to hug me. She hugged me tight. And she said, I bet you go home and you guys wash us off.
Whoa.
Wow.
Do you know how much tighter you want to hold somebody?
Yeah.
Because that is far from what I want to do. And you want to know how much Jesus loves you, that he's washed you. All you have to do is receive it. This young lady has been in our life. She loves us so much. She sends us encouraging messages. You think you're encouraging her, and she's turning around and encouraging you. I can't get over who this woman, God made this woman so beautiful, and we're like, do you don't even know how worthy you are? Like, you are such a special gem.
Wow.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I think there's a dry eye in this room right now. Sorry,
Yeah.
that was loud.
That was, it's, oh, and I tell you, this is good stuff.
Yeah.
This is why I picked this up yesterday. Purpose fuels passion, because my purpose is all to get the hope of the gospel. And I don't mean just there in the ministry. I mean everywhere I live.
Yeah.
My neighbors should know. Our neighbors should know. Our coworkers should know. Our children should know. My husband should know. That is the kind. If that's what we live for.
Yeah.
When we really love Jesus, that's where you live, at the grocery store. And when I say establishments, by the way, I'm like, I am not afraid. Oh, I have extra gifts? Okay, well, looks like I'm going to dry cleaner. Looks like I'm going to go get my nails done.
Yeah.
Looks like I'm taking gifts.
Mm-hmm.
You're bringing them to them. Yeah. Wow.
And I feel like that's also, because I'm originally from the South, like that's so not Jersey, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So even like, sometimes
Right.
I'll like smile at people as I'm passing them in the street and I get a few weird looks.
Yeah,
you know?
they're like, what?
And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not in the South, like, you know, can't have the small talk.
Yeah.
Or like,
Yeah.
But, and I've had a few people tell me like, oh, you're not from here, are you? I'm like, yeah.
You're too nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're probably just like makes their day.
Yeah.
I have a question, and I apologize if someone asked it before I had to step out. But
I would have shared my water, but I'm sure COVID would.
nah, it's all good. I had like something stuck in my
Oh,
throat,
yeah.
and it just wasn't going, and I had like
Yeah, no, it's
anyway,
okay.
more than the audience needed to know. But anyway, my question is, because it's so obvious from your passion and stuff, I'm sure there's people listening to this that want to know how they can get involved. So, because you keep
Yeah.
mentioning this amazing team of yours,
Yeah.
and I'm sure there's women who might be that they feel like this season in their life, this is where they want to start plugging in and helping. Like, how can people get involved? How can people help LoveLinks?
Yeah, so prayer, right? Prayer to even, if you're thinking of getting involved, please pray.
Yeah.
Because what are you trying to get involved with, right?
Yep.
Prayer for the team, prayer for continued, favor, that God would continue to allow the relationships, that we would be very mindful that it's God allowing the relationships and not our own doing, that we would stay humble, right? That we would just have that humility, like, please, Lord. There are many ways to get involved. You could, if you are an artist and you want to create the cards, we need a team that could maybe do 40 a month that wants to make them. If you love to write words of affirmation, it's even, we have cards that say, you are beautiful. That's it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's all she needed to hear that day. Or
Yeah.
you are loved. Maybe that's all she needed to hear that day.
Yeah.
Bakers, we are always looking. If somebody wants to bake, we could sure use it. If you're really good at it and you're like, hey, I can do 7 cakes for the clubs 1 month. You know what? The team needs to be loved on. If you're a culinary artist and you say, hey, Marisol, I'd like to host a dinner for you guys. I'll even bring it to your house. I live in Rockaway. 240. No.
Right, the address. My favorite is chocolate. Like,
So if you wanted to cook because there are many things. If you wanted to donate, of course, donate. We have on our Instagram, we always post like, hey, we're looking for this amount of gift bags or this amount of nail polishes. We also, here in the summer, if you're creative and you can make gifts such as these love stitches, we will take them. We just need 120. So we don't ever want to give. So what we want to do is we want to give our best. So
Yeah.
if we're going to make, 50 of it, I need to be able to replicate 70 more because they need to get the same thing because
Right.
the industry already has enough comparison.
yeah, enough competition, like you said before.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, if a male wants to get involved, no, you can't go into the club, Kevin McShane. And they want to be a driver for us, and they want to sit outside the club and pray, while the girls are in there, and they want to be a driver for a night. We're going to start accepting that, especially on the east side. There are just way too many things that I think I could, they could just ask
Yeah.
me. And,
Yeah.
you know, we do have volunteer applications that we send out if somebody wants to volunteer full time, only because we need to know, like, where are you going to be plugged in best, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe it's social media. Maybe, you know, hey, I really know how to do the social media. I can do this. There's just so many ways of getting involved. You know, even donating for baskets that we leave in the dressing room. So we like to do this. We even go in and clean their dressing rooms because that would shock you.
Wow.
But, you know, we want them to feel special, right? We want them to feel loved, and we want them to feel valued.
Yeah.
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 That's awesome. Marisol, thank you so much for sharing your heart, sharing your passion, sharing just the way that God has used you. This is just like this is another, because we did one recently too with another organization called Smile, but just like the consistent theme is God will do incredibly powerful things through you if you submit to His calling on your life and His and be obedient to Him. And I'm super encouraged. This was an emotional roller coaster for me.
Yeah. Same, dude.
But I'm so thankful for you giving us your time, and for everyone who's listening. Don't forget to pray for her.
Yes.
If you feel right now like you're called to this, called to minister in this way, then reach out to her. Follow her Instagram, which Alexa has pulled up.
Yep. LoveLinks, then the number 1 by the number 1.
Yeah. And you can get involved in that way too. And again, just thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Marisol.
Thanks for listening.